year 53 AC was one of a long summer. Abundant harvests, and the peace and prosperity enjoyed throughout the realm had done much to ease the kingdom's discontent. As the year drew towards its closing, Queen Alysanne brought King Jaehaerys joyful news once again. Her grace was with child. This time, she vowed no enemies would come near her. Plans for a second royal progress had already been arranged and announced before word of the Queen's condition became known. Though Jaehaerys at once resolved to remain by his wife's side until the babe was born, Alysanne would not allow it. He must go, she insisted. And so it came to pass. With the turning of the year, King Jaehaerys once more took skies upon Vermithor, setting out for the Riverlands. His progress began at Harrenhal, where he was welcomed by its new boy lord, the 9-year-old Maegor Towers. From there, the king and his retinue continued on through to Riverrun, Acorn Hall, Pink Maiden, Ataranta, and Stony Sept. At Queen Alysanne's request, Lady Janice Templeton accompanied the royal party, holding women's courts at Riverrun and Stony Sept in the Queen's absence. Meanwhile, Alysanne remained at the Red Keep, overseeing meetings of the small council during her husband's absence, and receiving petitioners from a velvet seat placed beneath the Iron Throne. As Queen Alysanne's pregnancy advanced, another child entered the world across Blackwater Bay, beyond the waters of the Gullet. Though his birth attracted far less notice at the time, the boy would one day leave a lasting mark upon both Westeros and the seas beyond its shores. On Driftmark, the eldest son of Daemon Velaryon became a father when his lady wife gave birth to a strong and healthy son. The child was given the name Corlys, in honour of the great-great-uncle who had served with distinction as Lord Commander of the first ever Kingsguard. In the years that followed, however, this new Corlys Velaryon would earn a name with far greater renown, but he would become known throughout the world as the Sea Snake. In due time, the Queen's own child was born. During the 7th moon of 53 AC, Alysanne was brought to bed and delivered a strong and healthy daughter, whom she named Daenerys. King Jaehaerys was at Stony Sept when the news of the birth reached him. At once he mounted Vermithor and flew for King's Landing. Though the king had hoped for a son to follow him upon the Iron Throne, any disappointment quickly vanished when he first held the babe in his arms. From that moment onward, it was plain to see that he adored his daughter. The little princess soon won the affection of the realm as well, everywhere, that is, save on Dragonstone. For Princess Rhaena Targaryen, the birth of Daenerys brought little joy. The daughter of Aegon the Uncrowned and his sister wife, Rhaena, was 11 years of age and had been heir to the Iron Throne for as long as she could remember, save for the 3 days that separated Prince Aegon's birth from his death. Strong-willed, bold-tongued, and fiery by nature, Rhaena delighted in the attention afforded to the queen-in-waiting, and was far from pleased to find herself displaced by a newborn princess. Her mother likely shared those feelings as well, yet Queen Rhaena held her tongue and voiced no complaint, even to her closest confidants. At the time, she had troubles enough within her own walls, for a rift had begun to grow between the Queen and her beloved Elissa Farman. Denied any share of the incomes of Fair Isle by her brother, Lord Franklin Farman, Alyssa turned to the Queen for gold needed to build a new ship in the shipyards of Driftmark. A large and swift vessel intended to sail the Sunset Sea. Rhaena refused her request. "I could not bear for you to leave me," she said, but Alyssa only heard no. Looking back with the benefit of hindsight, it's easy to see the warning signs that lay before them, ominous indications of the difficult days to come. Yet neither the archmaesters of the conclave nor any of the other learned men of that age perceived what was ahead as the new year drew to a close. None could know that the coming year would prove amongst the darkest of King Jaehaerys I Targaryen's long reign, a year marked by death, division, and disease, remembered by maesters and small folk alike as the year of the stranger. The first death of 54 AC came only days after the celebration that welcomed the new year, when Septon Oswyck passed away in his sleep. Though he was an old man whose health had been failing for some time, his death cast a pall over the court all the same. When the Queen Regent and Hand of the King and the Faith had opposed the marriage of Jaehaerys and Alysanne, it was Oswyck who had agreed to perform the rites that joined them. That act of courage had not been forgotten. At the king's request, his remains were interred on Dragonstone, where he had served so long and so faithfully. The Red Keep was still in mourning when the next blow struck, though at first it seemed cause for celebration. A raven arrived from Storm's End bearing astonishing news. Queen Alyssa Velaryon, at the age of 46, was once again with child. A second miracle, Grand Maester Bennifer declared as he delivered the tidings to the king. Septon Barth, who had assumed Oswyck's duties after the old Septon's death, proved less certain. Alyssa had never fully recovered from the birth of Bormund, he warned, and questioned whether she still possessed the strength to carry another child to term. Lord Rhaegar Baratheon, however, was overjoyed by the prospect of another son, and saw little cause for concern. His wife had borne 7 children already, he insisted. Why should she not bear an 8th? Her dreams were full of sundering rivers and wind-swept plains, towering mountains with their shoulders in the clouds, of green islands verdant in the sun, of strange beasts no man had tamed, and queer fruits no man had tasted, of golden cities shining underneath strange stars. The writings of Archmaester Gildane on Elissa Farman, Fire and Blood, Jaehaerys and Alysanne, their triumphs and tragedies. On Dragonstone, a different trouble was nearing its breaking point. Lady Elissa Farman could no longer endure life upon the island. The sea was calling her, she told Queen Rhaena, and the time had come to take her leave. Never one to display her feelings openly, Queen Rhaena received the news without expression. "I have asked you to stay," she said. "I will not beg. If you would go, go." Princess Arya possessed far less of her mother's restraint. When Lady Alyssa came to bid her farewell, the young princess wept and clung tightly to her leg, begging her to remain, or failing that, to take her along. "I want to be with you," Arya said. "I want to sail the seas and have adventures." Lady Alyssa shed a tear as well, we are told, yet gently freed herself from the princess's tight grasp, and replied, "No, child, your place is here." The following morning, Elissa Farman departed Dragonstone for Driftmark. From there she crossed the narrow sea to Pentos, before continuing overland to Braavos, a city renowned throughout the world for its shipwrights. Neither Queen Rhaena nor Princess Arya knew where her journey would ultimately take her. Indeed, the Queen believed that Alyssa had gone no further than Driftmark. Yet, Lady Alyssa had good reason to put greater distance between herself and her former companion. A fortnight later, after her departure, Sir Merrill Bullock, commander of the castle garrison, appeared nervously before Queen Rhaena, accompanied by 3 frightened grooms and the keeper of the dragon yard. 3 unhatched dragon eggs had vanished, and despite days of searching, no trace of them had been found. After closely questioning every man who had access to the dragons, Sir Merrill had reached a troubling conclusion. He was convinced that Lady Alyssa had taken the missing eggs with her when she fled. If this betrayal at the hands of one she had loved wounded Rhaena Targaryen, she gave little to no sign of it. Her fury, however, was plain for all to see. She commanded Sir Merrill to question the grooms and stable boys more sharply. When those efforts yielded nothing, she stripped him of his command and expelled him from the castle of Dragonstone, along with his son, Sir Alan, and a dozen of other men who had fallen under suspicion. Nor did her wrath end there. She summoned her husband, Andrew Farman, and demanded to know whether he had played any part in his sister's theft. His denials did little to calm her temper. Instead, they drove her to greater anger, until the pair's shouts echoed through the halls of Dragonstone. Men were dispatched to Driftmark, where the Queen learned that Lady Alyssa had sailed for Pentos almost immediately. Others were sent onwards to Pentos, but there the trail went cold. Only then did Rhaena Targaryen take to the skies upon her dragon Dreamfire and fly to the Red Keep to tell her brother, the king, what had occurred. Alyssa had no love for dragons, she told the king. It was gold she wanted, gold to build a ship. She will sell the eggs. They are worth a fleet, Jaehaerys said. He received his sister in his solar, with only Grand Maester Bennifer present to witness their exchange. If those eggs should hatch, there would be another dragon lord in the world, one not of our house. They may not hatch, Bennifer said. Not away from Dragonstone. The heat. It is known some dragon eggs simply turn to stone. Then some spicemonger in Pentos will find himself possessing of 3 very costly stones. Jaehaerys replied. Elsewise, the birth of 3 young dragons is not a thing you can easily keep a secret. Whoever has them will want to crow. We must have eyes and ears in Pentos, Tyrosh, Myr, and all the free cities. Offer rewards for any word of dragons, the king said. She is Rhaena, and I am Visenya. I have never thought otherwise. Rhaena Targaryen, to her brother King Jaehaerys, fire and blood, birth, death, and betrayal, and the King Jaehaerys. What do you mean to do? Rhaena asked. What I must, what you must. Do not think to wash your hands of this, sweet sister. You wanted Dragonstone, and I gave it to you, and you brought this woman there, this thief. Though the reign of Jaehaerys Targaryen would be remembered as one of the most peaceful in the history of Westeros, and the wars fought during it were both few and brief, no man should mistake the king for his father Aenys. There was little of the weakness or indecision in Jaehaerys, as both his sister and Grand Maester Bennifer were reminded of when he continued, saying, "Should the dragons turn up anywhere from here to Yeti, we will demand their return. They were stolen from us. They are ours by right. If that demand should be denied, then we must need go and get them, take them back if we can, and kill them if not. No hatchling could hope to stand against Vermithor and Dreamfire. And Silverwing," Rhaena said, "our sister had no part in this. I will not put her at risk." The Queen in the East then smiled. "She is your Rhaenys. I am Visenya. I have never thought otherwise." Grand Maester Bennifer looked concerned. "You are speaking of waging war across the narrow sea, your grace. The cost must need be borne. I will not allow Valyria to rise again. Imagine what the Triarchs of Atlantis would do with dragons. Let us pray it never comes to that." With that, his grace brought the audience to an end, cautioning the others not to speak of the missing eggs. No one must know of this but we 3. The king's caution came too late. On Dragonstone, word of the theft had already become common knowledge, even amongst the fisherfolk. And fisherfolk, as is known, sail from island to island, carrying with them tales wherever they go. Thus the whispers indeed spread. As Jaehaerys had commanded, Bennifer set his search in motion across the narrow sea, through the Pentoshi Master of Coin, whose agents could be found in every port. Good coin was paid to bad men, in the words of Rigodraz, in exchange for any word of Elissa Farman, dragon eggs or dragons. Before long, a small host of whisperers, informers, courtiers and courtesans were feeding reports back to the Iron Throne. Hundreds of such reports were gathered, and though a score of them proved useful to the crown for reasons unrelated to the search, every tale concerning their missing dragon eggs ultimately led nowhere. We know that after leaving Pentos, Lady Alyssa eventually made her way to Braavos, though she did not travel there under her own name. Driven from Fair Isle and disowned by her brother Lord Franklin, she adopted the bastard name of her own devising, and thereafter called herself Alice de Westhill. Under this guise, she succeeded in gaining an audience with the Sea Lord of Braavos. The Sea Lord's menageries were far famed, and he willingly purchased the dragon eggs. The gold received in exchange was placed in the care of the Iron Bank, whilst Alyssa used it to finance the construction of the Sun Chaser, the very vessel she had dreamed of building for many years.